My first contraction hit so hard I dropped to my knees on the kitchen floor, one hand gripping the cabinet, the other dialing my husband for the 12th time. The phone rang until it stopped. No answer. Outside, dawn was barely touching the quiet streets of Charlotte, North Carolina. The kitchen clock said 5:42 a.m. Our hospital bag sat by the garage door with a tiny pink blanket folded on top, Theon Ryan had picked out himself. And said our daughter would come home in. I was 39 weeks pregnant, barefoot, shaking, and stupid enough to still believe my husband would come running the second he knew our baby was coming. But the house was silent. I called again, straight to voicemail. Ryan, I said, trying not to cry, I'm having contractions. They're close. I think it's time. Please call me back. I pressed send on the voice message and waited. Nothing. On his pillow, I found a yellow sticky note. Went out for coffee and bagels. Back in 20. Love you both. I stared at it until the words blurred. Ryan never went out for coffee at 5 in the morning. He hated mornings. He hated lines. He hated doing anything before 8 unless a client was paying him. And that day, of all days, he had promised he would not leave my side. We had tried for this baby for 4 years. 4 years of negative tests. 4 years of doctor appointments. 4 years of me pretending I was happy at baby showers while crying in the car afterward. When I finally showed Ryan the 2 pink lines, he sank to the bathroom floor and sobbed into my stomach like a man being handed his whole future. I swear, he whispered then, you and this baby will never have to wonder if I'm there. I'm not going anywhere. Promises sound holy when nobody is testing them. Another contraction folded me in half. I called my younger sister, Tessa. She answered on the 5th ring, breathless. Hello? Tessa, I'm in labor. Ryan isn't answering. I need you. There was a pause. Not a normal pause. A pause with a secret behind it. Right now, she asked. I almost laughed from the pain. No, next Christmas. Yes, right now. I'm coming, she said quickly. Give me 20 minutes. I wanted to believe her too. Tessa had been around constantly during my pregnancy. At first I thought it was sweet. She brought baby clothes. She painted the nursery trim. She rubbed my feet when they swelled. She stayed for dinner even when Ryan and I had not invited her. My mom noticed before I did. One night, while Ryan and Tessa were laughing in the nursery over some joke I had missed, Mom pulled me aside and said, Claire, be careful. Some women get too comfortable in houses that are not theirs. I snapped at her, Tessa is my sister. Mom looked at me with tired eyes. That doesn't make her harmless. I did not speak to my mother for 2 days after that. Now I was alone on the kitchen floor, begging the same sister to come help me bring my baby into the world. 20 minutes passed. Then 40. Ryan did not answer. Tessa did not arrive. At 6:51, the contractions were 7 minutes apart. I was sweating through my nightgown. My legs felt weak. I called Ryan again and again until my call log looked insane. Then I did what no woman should have to do. I picked up the hospital bag, waddled into the garage, got behind the wheel of my own car, and drove myself to the hospital while in labor. The roads were still half empty, thank God. I drove with one hand on the steering wheel and one hand pressed beneath my belly like I could hold my daughter safely inside by force. At a red light, pain tore through me so sharply I screamed. A man in a pickup beside me looked over, horrified. I kept driving. By the time I pulled into the hospital entrance, I was crying so hard I could barely see. I parked crooked in the emergency drop-off lane and stumbled inside with the bag slipping off my shoulder. A nurse rushed toward me. Ma'am, are you alone? My husband is coming, I lied, because I still needed that to be true. They put me in a wheelchair and moved me upstairs. A nurse named Patricia helped me change into a gown while I kept calling Ryan. Any luck? She asked gently. I shook my head. She looked at the phone in my hand, then at my trembling face, and said nothing. That silence was kinder than pity. At 8:30, Tessa finally appeared in the doorway. Her hair was damp. Her blouse was buttoned wrong. She wore too much perfume, the sharp floral kind she used when she was trying to cover cigarette smoke or bad decisions. I stared at her. Where is Ryan? She blinked too fast. I don't know. I went by your house but he wasn't there. His car was there. Her face changed. Just for 1 second, the mask slipped. How do you know that? She asked. I held up my phone. Mrs. Whitaker texted me. She said Ryan's truck is still in our driveway and there's a silver car parked down the street. Mrs. Whitaker was our neighbor, a retired school principal with security cameras, binoculars, and a moral code sharper than a butcher knife. Tessa swallowed. Maybe he got a ride with someone. To buy bagels? I don't know, Claire. I'm trying to help. A contraction hit before I could answer. I grabbed the bed rail and cried out. Tessa stepped toward me, then stopped, like comfort had become too intimate. When the pain passed, she was already clutching her purse. I'll go find him, she said. No, I said. Please don't leave me. I'll be fast. Tessa. But she was gone. At noon, my blood pressure spiked. At 1:15, the baby's heart rate dipped for the first time. By 1:42, there were too many people in my room, and the doctor's voice had turned calm in the way doctors get when calm means danger. Claire, Dr. Myers said, sitting beside me, we need to do a C-section. Now. Can we wait for my husband? Her eyes softened. We shouldn't. So I signed the papers alone. My hand shook so badly Patricia had to hold the clipboard steady. I called my mother. She answered with, honey? That one word broke me. Mom, I sobbed, Ryan is gone. Tessa is gone. I think they read together. My mother did not gasp. She did not ask how I knew. She said, I'm on my way. When they wheeled me toward the operating room, Tessa appeared at the end of the hallway. Her lipstick was smeared. Her cheeks were flushed. There was a red mark on her collarbone she had tried to hide with makeup and failed. I found him, she said quickly. He's parking. Behind her, my mother came around the corner like judgment in a cardigan. She looked at Tessa once. Just once. Then she stepped between us. You are not going in there. Tessa's mouth opened. Mom, please, move, my mother said. Mom, I didn't. My mother pointed toward the elevator with a fury I had never seen in her. Leave before I forget you are my daughter too. The operating room door swung open. The lights were white and brutal. My body was shaking from anesthesia, fear, heartbreak, and something deeper than all three. My mother took my hand. You look at me, she said. Not them. Me. I heard metal. I heard voices. I heard Dr. Myers telling me there would be pressure but no pain. Then, at 2:08 p.m., my daughter screamed. Not cried. Screamed. A furious, beautiful sound that split the room wide open. They held her up for 1 second above the curtain, slippery and red and alive, and I started sobbing so hard I could not breathe. Her name, the nurse said, smiling behind her mask. Do we have a name? June, I whispered. Her name is June. Because she was supposed to be born in spring, but she came like summer thunder. When they placed her against my chest, her tiny mouth searched for warmth, and I knew something with absolute clarity. Every person in that hallway had failed me. But I would never fail her. Then my phone buzzed beside my mother's hand. She looked at the screen. Her face went gray. What? I asked. She tried to hide it, but I saw the message. It was from Mrs. Whitaker. A still photo from her front porch camera. Ryan and Tessa entering me house at 6:18 that morning. His hand was on my sister's waist. She was wearing me gray maternity hoodie. And I was already in labor inside that same house. I did not scream when I saw the photo. Maybe because my body was open on an operating table. Maybe because mid-otter was on my chest, warm and breathing. Maybe because some pain is too large to make noise at first. Recovery smelled like antiseptic, plastic blankets, and baby shampoo. June slept against me with one tiny fist tucked under her chin, unaware that her first day on earth had already become evidence. My mother sat beside the bed like a guard dog in reading glasses. She held my phone because my hands were too weak. Every few minutes, it lit up. Ryan. 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 At 3:11, he texted, Claire, please let me explain. At 3:16, I messed up. At 3:20, it wasn't what it looked like. At 3:21, is the baby okay? That was the first time he asked about her. I stared at the message. Not our baby. The baby. My mother saw my face and turned the phone over. No more today, she said. But there was no such thing as no more. Not when betrayal had walked right into the hospital wearing my sister's perfume. At 4:05, Tessa Trietto come into the room. Patricia stopped her at the door. Immediate family only, Patricia said. I'm her sister. My mother stood. Not today. Tessa's eyes were swollen. But I could not tell if it was from crying or panic. She looked younger suddenly, like the little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. Claire, she whispered. Please. I turned my face toward the window. Tell her to leave, I said. Tessa made a broken sound. It wasn't planned. I laughed once. It hurt my stitches so badly I gasped. You wore my hoodie. She froze. My mother looked at her with disgust. You walked into my house with my husband while I was in labor, and you wore my clothes? Tessa started crying harder. Ryan was scared. He said he couldn't handle becoming a father. He called me, and I went over because I thought he might do something stupid. And then what? I asked. You saved him in my bed? Her mouth opened and closed. That silence answered everything. My mother stepped toward her. Get out. Mom, I love her. You don't know what love is. Security escorted Tessa down the hall while she sobbed my name. 10 minutes later, Ryan arrived. I knew it before I saw him because the air in the room changed. My mother's shoulders went rigid. Patricia moved closer to the bassinet. Even June stirred like some old instinct told her danger had entered. Ryan stood in the doorway wearing yesterday's jeans, a wrinkled blue shirt, and shame that looked almost convincing. Almost. His eyes were red. His hair was wet. He had shaved badly, leaving a cut under his jaw. Claire, he said. Don't say my name. He looked at the bassinet. June was sleeping there, swaddled tight, pink and perfect. His face crumpled. Can I see her? My mother moved between him and the baby. No, she's my daughter. She was your daughter at 5:42 when her mother was calling you. From the kitchen floor, Mom said. She was your daughter when her heart rate dropped. She was your daughter when my daughter signed surgery papers alone. Don't remember biology now and call it fatherhood. Ryan's knees bent like he might collapse. I panicked, he said. I know that sounds pathetic, but I panicked. I was scared, Claire. I was drunk. I didn't know what I was doing. You left a note about bagels. I thought I'd be back before you woke up. With my sister? His eyes filled. It had been going on, but it wasn't serious. The room went silent. It was the wrong confession. I felt something inside me go cold and still. How long? I asked. Hera bent both hands over his face. Claire, please don't do this right now. How long? He looked at my mother, then at the floor. Since February. June was born in May. 3 months. 3 months of Tessa painting my nursery. 3 months of Ryan kissing my belly after coming home from her apartment or a hotel or my own bed. 3 months of me thanking God for a family that was secretly carving me open before the doctors ever did. My mother grabbed the bed rail so hard her knuckles whitened. Get out, I said. Ryan stepped forward. Please. I need to hold my daughter. You need to leave. I'm her father. No, I said. Today, you are the man who missed her birth because you were with her aunt. He flinched like I had slapped him. Good. Patricia called security before my mother had to. That night, while June slept against my chest, I did not sleep at all. I watched her breathe. In. Out. In. Out. Every breath felt like compromise I had to keep. My father drove in from Asheville the next morning. He entered my hospital room holding a grocery bag full of snacks my mother had requested and flowers he had clearly bought at the gift shop because they still had the price tag hanging off. He kissed my forehead and cried without making a sound. My father was not a dramatic man. He fixed fences, changed oil, sent weather updates, and believed most problems could be solved with coffee and a level head. But when he saw June, something broke open in him. She's perfect, he whispered. Then he looked at me. Where is he? Dad, where? My mother told him Ryan had been sitting in the waiting area since 6 a.m., begging the nurses to let him in. Dad nodded once and left the room. He was gone for 12 minutes. When he came back, he looked 10 years older. He admitted it, Dad said. My stomach tightened. All of it? I asked. Enough. My mother stood. What does enough mean? Dad looked at June, then at me, and his voice dropped. He said it wasn't only the affair. He has debts. What debts? Sports betting. A credit card you didn't know about. Cash advances. The room tilted. No, I whispered. Dad swallowed. He used money from the baby account. My hand went automatically to June's back. The baby account. The one we opened after the 20-week ultrasound. The one for diapers, medical bills. Formula if I needed it, her crib, her future. How much? I asked. Dad's eyes filled with rage. He says around $18,000. My mother sat down hard. I could not cry. That scared me more than crying. I just stared at the wall and understood that my marriage had not fallen apart in one day. It had been rotting quietly while I folded tiny onesies and wrote thank you notes for baby gifts. Ryan had knowingly betrayed my heart. He had stolen from our daughter before she even had a birth certificate. By noon, a hospital social worker came in. Her name was Denise. She had kind eyes and a clipboard that made me feel like my disaster had become official. We can put a restricted visitor list in place, she said. Only people you approve can enter this room. We can also document that you arrived alone in active labor, that your spouse was unreachable, and that staff witnessed distress related to his later appearance. My mother said, do it. Denise looked at me. Claire? I was still watching June. Yes, I said. Do it. That afternoon, I called a lawyer from the hospital bed. Her name was Miriam Cole, and she spoke like a woman who had seen too many men cry only after being caught. First, she said, do not argue with him by text. Let him talk. Save everything. Second, we file for emergency temporary custody. Third, if he threatens you, shows up, or uses self-harm to manipulate access to the baby, we document it immediately. I looked at June's tiny ear, folded like a seashell. I don't want to destroy him, I said. Miriam paused. Claire, he drove himself there. Yuri just turning on the lights. By the time I left the hospital 2 days later, Ryan had sent 87 messages. Some begged. Some blamed Tessa. Some blamed alcohol. Some blamed childhood trauma. Some blamed me for being emotionally unavailable during pregnancy, which was an interesting way to describe a woman vomiting for 4 months, working full-time, and growing his child. One message said, "If you keep my daughter from me, I don't know what I might do." I screenshotted it and sent it to Miriam. Her reply came in less than 1 minute. Do not respond. We will use this. When the nurse wheeled me through the hospital lobby with Junie in her carrier, Ryan was outside holding a bouquet of white roses. White roses, like this was a prom apology. My father stepped in front of the wheelchair. Ryan looked past him at me. Claire, please. Let me see her for 1 second. Before I could speak, a silver car pulled up. Tessa got out. She was wearing sunglasses too large for her face and holding a gift bag covered in cartoon elephants. Ryan turned and looked horrified. What are you doing here? He snapped. Tessa removed the sunglasses. Her eyes were red. I needed to see her. She doesn't want to see you. Tessa looked at him like he had slapped her. You said we would explain together. Ryan's face went pale. My mother made a sound under her breath. I stared at both of them. Tessa's voice rose. Don't act like I chased you. You said you loved me. You said Claire only wanted the baby and didn't see you anymore. Ryan hissed, shut up. And there it was. Right there in front of the hospital entrance, with nurses, strangers, and my newborn daughter as witnesses, they turned on each other. Not for love. Not for truth. For survival. Tessa pointed at me with a shaking hand. He told me your marriage was already dead. I laughed, but it came out like a sob. Funny. He told me we were happy. Ryan looked at me. Claire, I was confused. No, I said quietly. You were caught. June made a soft squeaking sound in her carrier. Everyone stopped. I looked down at her tiny face, scrunched against the sunlight, and something settled in me. Not peace. Not yet. But direction. I looked at Ryan and Tessa. I hope it was worth it, I said. Because whatever you thought you were taking from me, you were wrong. Ryan stepped forward. My father blocked him. I kept my eyes on both of them. You didn't take my family, I said. You showed me who wasn't family in the first place. Then my mother pushed the wheelchair toward the car, and I left them standing there with the roses, the gift bag, and the ruins they had made. The first night at my parents' house, I slept in my old bedroom under the same slanted ceiling where I had taped posters. As a teenager and cried over boys whose names I could not remember now. June slept in a borrowed bassinet beside me. My C-section incision burned every time I moved. My milk came in painfully. My hormones crashed so hard that I cried because the lamp was too bright, then cried harder because I felt ridiculous. But the worst part was the fear. Every creak in the hallway sounded like Ryan. Every car outside sounded like Tessa. Every notification made my stomach twist. At 2:13 a.m., while June nursed against me, Ryan texted, "I'm outside." My blood went cold. I looked toward the window. Headlights glowed faintly through the blinds. I called my father. He answered from across the hall like he had been awake too. "He's here," I whispered. Dad did not ask who. Within 30 seconds, he was outside in sweatpants and work boots, standing in the porch with his phone in his hand. I watched through the upstairs window. Ryan stood by his truck, crying. Dad did not raise his voice. I could not hear what he said. But I saw Ryan's face change from pleading to angry. He pointed toward the house. Dad pointed toward the street. Ryan shouted something. Then Dad held up his phone, clearly recording. Ryan got in his truck and left. The next morning, Miriam filed for emergency temporary custody, supervised visitation, child support, and a no-contact order except through attorneys. Ryan's parents called me before lunch. I almost did not answer, but Ryan's mother, Linda, had always been kind to me. She had knitted June a blanket. She had sat with me during fertility treatments when Ryan had a work trip he couldn't miss. Her voice broke when I picked up. Claire, we are so ashamed. I closed my eyes. I don't know what to say. You don't owe us anything. I just want you to know we told Ryan he cannot come here and hide from what he did. We will not lie for him. That made me cry. Linda cried too. Then she said, there is something else. My hand tightened around the phone. What? Ryan asked his father for money last month. He said it was for nursery furniture. We gave him $5,000. I sat down slowly. We already had the nursery furniture. I know that now. She took a shaky breath. And Claire, he told us not to mention it to you because you were anxious and he didn't want to stress you before birth. The betrayal kept multiplying. Every time I thought I had reached the bottom, there was another trapdoor. After I hung up, my mother came into the room and found me sitting on the edge of the bed with June sleeping in my lap. What happened? I told her. Mom closed her eyes. Then she said something I will never forget. Some men don't just cheat on wives. They build entire weather systems around their lies, then act shocked when everyone gets wet. For the first time since the hospital, I smiled. It hurt. But it was real. A week later, Mrs. Whitaker called me. Sweetheart, she said, I have something you need. My stomach tightened. What is it? My porch camera records audio. When someone comes close enough. I didn't realize it saved as much as it did. I checked the file from that morning. I stopped breathing. What did you hear? Mrs. Whitaker's voice hardened. Enough. She sent the video to my email. I watched it at the kitchen table with my mother on one side and Miriam on speakerphone. The timestamp read 6:18 a.m. Ryan opened our front door from inside. Tessa hurried up the walkway, looking over her shoulder. She was not there to rescue him. She was smiling. Ryan pulled her inside by the wrist, not roughly, but eagerly. Then the audio picked up my phone ringing from somewhere inside the house. My ringtone. Ryan looked toward the sound. Tessa whispered, "Is that her?" Ryan said, "Ignore it." A few seconds later, my voice message played faintly through the speaker because I had called so many times. Ryan, I'm having contractions. They're close. I think it's time. Please call me back. On the video, Tessa covered her mouth. For 1 second, I thought she would run to me. Instead, Ryan said, "She's always dramatic. First babies take forever." Tessa whispered, "What if Shensu?" Ryan laughed under his breath. "Then I'll say my phone died." Then came the part that emptied the room of air. Tessa said, "Turn yours off too. If Claire keeps calling, we'll say your truck wouldn't start and I came to help." Ryan answered, "Good." Wayne the same story. My mother stood so fast the chair fell back. Miriam was silent on the phone. Then she said, very calmly, "Claire, send me the original file. Do not edit it. Do not post it. Do not send it to anyone else." I was shaking so hard I could barely move the mouse. It had not been panic. It had not been alcohol. It had not been confusion. They heard me. They heard me begging. They made a plan. Something inside me stopped grieving them after that. Grief is for what you lost. That day, I realized there was never anything there worth saving. The temporary custody hearing was 11 days after June was born. I wore a loose black dress because it was the only thing that did not press against my incision. My mother carried June's diaper bag. My father drove. I sat in the back beside my daughter's car seat and watched the courthouse rise ahead of us like a place where pain had to become paperwork before anyone believed it. Ryan arrived in a navy suit. Clean shaven. Hair combed. Eyes sad but not too sad. He carried a folder labeled parenting plan. The audacity of that label almost made me laugh. Tessa was not there. I later learned Ryan's lawyer told him bringing the woman he cheated with while his wife was in labor might not help his devoted father argument. Inside the courtroom, Ryan looked at June like he was auditioning for regret. The judge, a woman named Judge Harrow, reviewed the filings with a face that gave away nothing. Ryan's attorney stood first. "Your Honor, my client deeply regrets the circumstances surrounding the birth, but he is eager to be involved in his daughter's life. We believe the mother is acting out of understandable emotional distress, but denying a newborn access to her father is not in the child's best interest." Denying. That word lit a match in my chest. Miriam stood. "Your Honor, my client is not denying access. She is requesting safe, structured access due to documented abandonment during active labor, admitted infidelity with the maternal aunt during that labor, financial deception involving funds intended for the child, and threatening communication after birth." Ryan stared at the table. The judge looked at him. "Mr. Bennett, were you with your wife's sister while your wife was in labor?" Ryan swallowed. "Yes, Your Honor, but I did not understand how far along she was." Miriam clicked a small remote. The courtroom monitor turned on. Ryan's head snapped up. The video began. I could not watch the screen. I watched the judge. She listened to my voice message. She listened to Ryan say I was dramatic. She listened to Tessa say they needed the same story. When it ended, the courtroom was so quiet I could hear June breathing in her carrier. Judge Harrow looked at Ryan. "You heard your wife say she was having contractions?" Ryan's mouth opened. His lawyer touched his sleeve. "Yes," Ryan said. "And you chose not to respond?" "I made a terrible mistake." The judge's voice turned colder. "No, Mr. Bennett. A mistake is forgetting a diaper bag. What I just watched was a decision." I looked down because I did not want Ryan to see my face, not because I was crying. Because I was not. The order came down 20 minutes later, temporary primary custody to me. Supervised visits for Ryan at a family visitation center. No direct contact except through a court-approved parenting app. Child support set immediately. No coming to my parents' home, my workplace, or the pediatrician's office without written agreement. Ryan lowered his head into his hands. I held June and breathed. For the first time since the kitchen floor, air reached the bottom of my lungs. But the court order was only the first twist. The second came from Tessa. 3 days after the hearing, she sent me an email. The subject line was, "You deserve to know everything." I nearly deleted it. My mother said, "Let Miriam read it first." Miriam did. Then she called me. "Claire," she said, "you need to sit down." Tessa had attached screenshots. Hundreds of them. Messages between her and Ryan dating back not 3 months, but almost 7. Before I knew I was pregnant. Before the baby shower. Before the gender reveal where Tessa had hugged me and cried pink confetti into my hair. But the messages were not only romantic. They were cruel. Ryan wrote, "Once the baby comes, Claire will be too exhausted to fight me on money." Tessa wrote, "She trusts me. I can find out what accounts she has." Ryan wrote, "If mom and dad give baby money, I can move it before Claire notices." Tessa wrote, "Don't make Mel look stupid. If you're going to leave her, leave her." Ryan wrote, "After the birth. Not before. Divorce before delivery looks bad." I read that one sentence 6 times. After the birth. Not before. Divorce before delivery looks bad. My daughter was not even born yet, and he had already calculated the optics of abandoning me. I threw up in me mother's sink. When I could speak again, I asked Miriam why Tessa would send it. She says Ryan is blaming her publicly. She wants to prove he planned more than he admitted. So she's not sorry. She may be sorry, Miriam said. But right now, she is also angry. Angry people sometimes tell the truth faster than guilty people. I sent the screenshots to Miriam. Then I blocked Tessa's email. Not because the truth did not matter, because I had enough of bleeding every time they decided to stab each other. The screenshots changed everything financially. Miriam brought in a forensic accountant named Paul. He was a quiet man with silver glasses and the emotional range of a printer, which turned out to be exactly what I needed. Numbers did not cry. Numbers did not gaslight. Numbers just sat there and told the truth. Paul traced the baby account withdrawals. $18,742 from the baby account. $5,000 from Ryan's parents. $3,600 from a credit card in my name that I had never opened. $2,100 spent at hotels. $1,480 at restaurants. $6,900 in online sports betting transfers. And one charge that made my entire family go silent. $812 at a jewelry store. The date was 2 weeks before June was born. My mother thought maybe he had bought me a push present and hidden it. I knew better. Miriam subpoenaed the receipt through Discovery. A white gold necklace. Purchased with money meant for diapers and medical bills. Tessa posted a selfie wearing it on Instagram 3 days later. Caption, "Sometimes a girl needs to feel chosen." My mother saw it first. I thought she might break the phone. Instead, she laughed. Not a happy laugh. A dangerous one. She wanted to feel chosen, Mom said. Fine. Let's make sure everyone knows what he chose her with. Miriam would not let us post anything publicly. Court first, she said. Revenge later, if revenge is still worth your energy. At the next financial hearing, Ryan's attorney tried to paint him as overwhelmed. A new baby, work stress, emotional pressure, he said. My client made reckless choices, but he remains employed and willing to provide. Miriam stood with Paul's report. Your Honor, this was not reckless spending. This was concealment. Mr. Bennett opened a credit card using marital information, diverted funds gifted for the child, spent them on an affair partner, and discussed delaying divorce because it would look bad before delivery. She placed the printed messages on the table. Ryan's face lost color. His attorney leaned over and whispered something sharp. The judge read silently. Then she looked at Ryan. Did you write these messages? Ryan's jaw tightened. I was in a bad place. That was not my question. Yes. The judge ordered him to repay the baby account, cover part of my legal fees, and maintain supervised visitation until further review. She also warned that any attempt to hide assets would be treated seriously. Ryan walked out of that courtroom not as the sad new father who made a mistake, but as a man whose lies had finally been given page numbers. That should have been enough. But viral family disasters never end when decent people need them to. Tessa came to my parents' house 2 months after June was born. It was raining. I saw her through the doorbell camera before she rang. Her hair was soaked. She held a bag of baby clothes and a stuffed rabbit with a pink bow. My first instinct was to open the door. That instinct hurt the most. Because before all this, Tessa was the person I called when I burned dinner, when I got bad news. When I needed someone to tell me whether a dress made me look tired. She had been me sister before she became the woman on the porch camera. I pressed the intercom. What do you want? She looked up, startled. Claire. Please. I just want to talk. You can talk from there. Her mouth trembled. I brought things for June. Donate them. Please don't be cruel. I almost laughed. Cruel. I was standing inside with a healing scar across my stomach, holding a baby whose father had ignored her heartbeat for an affair, and my sister was on the porch asking me not to be cruel. Tessa, I said, what do you want? She looked down at the wet gift bag. Ryan left me. There it was, not I'm sorry. Not how is June. Not I heard you in pain and chose myself. Ryan left me. He says I ruined his life, she continued. His parents won't speak to him. His boss found out about the credit card issue, and now he's on leave. He told May was a mistake. I closed my eyes. The old me would have comforted her. The old me would have remembered her at 8 years old, scraped knees and missing front teeth, crying because some girl at school called her weird. The new me remembered me own voice on that recording. Ryan, I'm having contractions. And my sister choosing silence. You weren't a mistake, I said. You were a participant. She started crying. I know I hurt you. No, I said, you hurt me when you flirted with my husband. You destroyed something when you heard me begging for help and helped him make up a lie. Tessa covered her mouth, I panicked. So did I. I drove myself to the hospital. Claire, I need my sister. I looked down at June asleep against my shoulder. I needed mine in the hospital. Tessa sobbed. Will you ever forgive me? I did not answer quickly. Because I did not want Tully. I don't know, I said. Maybe one day I'll forgive you for my own peace. But forgiveness will not give you access to my child. And it will not put you back in me house. She nodded like each word hit her physically. Can I just see her through the window? No, that was the hardest no I had ever spoken. She left the gift bag on the porch. My father threw it in the trunk of his car and donated it the next morning. I cried after Tessa left. I cried so hard my incision ached. My mother found me on the laundry room floor and sat beside me without trying to lift me. I hate that I still love her, I whispered. Mom leaned her head against the dryer. That's the cruel part about family. Love doesn't always leave when trust does. I looked at her. Do you hate her? Her eyes filled. I'm her mother. I hate what she did. I hate that she became someone who could do it. But no, I don't hate her. Does that make you feel guilty? Every day. Wes sat there listening to the dryer thump in the silence. For the first time, I realized my mother had lost a daughter too. Not the same way I lost a sister. But enough to break something. Life did not heal all at once. It healed rudely, in pieces. While bills still came and milk still leaked through shirts and the baby still cried at 3 a.m. I moved into a small rental duplex 4 months after June was born. It had pale blue walls, a squeaky front step, and a kitchen window that looked out at a maple tree. It was not the house I had decorated with Ryan. It did not have the nursery mural Tessa painted. That was why I loved it. Nothing in that duplex had been touched by their lies. My father installed a security camera and changed the locks twice because he did not trust the first set. My mother filled the freezer with casseroles. Linda, Ryan's mother, mailed diapers every month with no note except, for June. I returned to work part-time as a pediatric speech therapist when June was 6 months old. The first day I dropped her at daycare, I cried in the parking lot for 17 minutes. Then I wiped my face, went inside, and helped another mother's son learn to say mama. That night, I picked June up and she smiled at me like I was the sun. No court order, no affair, no debt, no humiliation could touch that. Ryan's supervised visits began badly. The visitation center reports were brutally plain. Father appeared anxious. Father had difficulty soothing infant. Father checked phone repeatedly. Father ended visit 18 minutes early due to work emergency. I read the first report at my kitchen table and felt nothing. That nothing scared me. Then Miriam said, nothing is not cold. Sometimes nothing is your nervous system finally refusing to keep bleeding. Over time, Ryan improved. I want to be honest about that. Stories like this are easier when the villain stays a villain in every frame. Real life is messy, eh? Ryan started attending parenting classes. He learned how to hold June without looking like she was made of glass. He stopped sending me emotional messages because the parenting app monitored everything. He paid support after the court garnished his wages. Did that redeem him? No. It made him a father doing the minimum under supervision. But June deserved a father who tried safely, and I had to learn that protecting her did not always mean punishing him forever. It meant watching closely. It meant boundaries. It meant truth without poison. The divorce finalized 11 months after June was born. The courthouse looked less terrifying that day. Maybe because I had survived it enough times. Ryan sat across from me in a gray suit that no longer fit him well. He looked thinner. Older. Less polished. Tessa was not part of the proceedings, Booth or Shadow sat there anyway. The settlement gave me primary custody, structured visitation, child support, repayment of stolen funds, and the house proceeds after his debts were deducted. Ryan's hidden credit card became his responsibility. The judge made a pointed note that financial deception involving child-related funds had influenced the outcome. When I signed the final page, my hand did not shake. Ryan looked at me. "I'm sorry," he said. I capped the pen. "I know." He seemed startled. Maybe he expected anger. Maybe he wanted it. Anger would have meant there was still a rope between us he could pull. There was not. "I loved you," he said. I looked at him then. "No," I said. "You loved being loved by me. There's a difference." His eyes filled. This time, I did not look away. He nodded once, like he understood he had finally reached the locked door. After court, I drove to daycare and picked up June early. She was 11 months old, chubby-cheeked and furious because someone had taken away a plastic stacking cup she wanted. When she saw me, she stopped crying and reached both arms up. That was the sound of my freedom. Not the judge. Not the signature. My daughter choosing my arms. On June's first birthday, we had a small party in Miprint's backyard. Nothing fancy. A grocery store cake with yellow frosting, balloons tied to lawn chairs. A plastic banner my father hung crooked and refused to fix because he said it had character. Linda came and brought the blanket she had knitted. She asked me quietly if it was okay to take a picture with June. I said yes. She cried when June grabbed her necklace. Ryan came for 1 hour under the visitation agreement. He brought a wooden toy and a card. He stayed polite. He did not try to hug me. He did not mention the past. When June smeared frosting on his sleeve, he laughed softly, and for a moment I saw the man I once thought he could become. Then the moment passed. He left before cake was served to the adults. Tessa did not come. But she sent a card. My mother handed it to me after the party, like it might explode. I opened it alone in the kitchen. There was no long apology. No excuses. Just 3 sentences. "I heard you that morning. Iko's wrong. I will spend my life being sorry. Whether you forgive me or not." I sat with that card for a long time. Then I put it in a box in the closet. Not because I forgave her. Not because I didn't. Because some truths do not need an immediate verdict. That evening, after everyone left, I carried June outside. The grass was cool under my feet. Fireflies blinked near the fence. My father was inside pretending not to cry while washing paper plates. My mother was humming to herself in the key. Chen. June rested her sticky hand against my cheek. She had Ryan's eyes. I used to hate that. Then one day I realized they were also hers. And she was innocent of fevery wound adults had made before she could even speak. When she was old enough, I would tell her the truth. Not the ugly details all at once. Not with bitterness, not as a weapon. I would tell her that her mother was abandoned in the most vulnerable moment of her life, but she did know. T abandoned herself. I would tell her that love without loyalty is just noise. I will tell her that family is not always the people who, when showing up, cost something. My mother showed up. My father showed up. Mrs. Whitaker with her porch camera showed up. Patricia, Denise, Miriam, Paul, even Linda in her own quiet way, showed up. And me? I showed up too. For my daughter. For myself. For the woman on the kitchen floor who thought she had been left with nothing. She had not been left with nothing. She had been left with the truth. And the truth, as cruel as it was, became the first clean brick in the life I built after Ryan burned the old one down. June pressed her forehead into my neck, sleepy and warm. The sky over the backyard turned deep blue. For the first time in almost a year, I did not think about the photo, the video, the courthouse, or the woman my sister used to be. I thought about the tiny blue duplex waiting for us. The crib by the window. The clean sheets. The quiet. The life with no hidden phones, no fake errands, no sister laughing too loudly in my kitchen while holding a knife behind her back. A small life, maybe. But honest. A safe home. A loved child. A mother still standing. And after everything, that was not a consolation prize. That was the miracle.